All right, guys, welcome back to The Haunted Heart.
That was really good.
Thanks, I'm working on it.
That was like late night vampire radio host realness.
Yeah, we call that the cold here.
Oh,
It's lots of congestion, but it makes you sound real rugged.
Real masculine. Deep.
Yes.
So, up top, we have to, I guess, make concessions or apologies for our audio quality today. It might be a little bit dicey.
Yeah, we've got some people downstairs that are just really getting into Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a neighbor problem at present. We did a couple test runs, and we decided it probably wasn't bad enough to not record for you. So we're going to go ahead and record, but you might hear a little bit of thumping in the background. That's not the people in our basement.
Well, I mean, no, because we don't keep them alive.
Right, exactly. There's no thumping. So, yeah, we have a new sound system apparently downstairs and some screaming friends, so you may hear some wailing, some thumping.
Just please know that, again, that is nobody that we are keeping hostage.
Not in any way.
Not at all.
That we're holding against their will.
We don't do that.
Because it's illegal. And immoral.
Probably a little unethical.
Definitely. I would say definitely in the black and white area of unethical.
Yes.
Definitely probably not a gray space there.
Speaking of gray space, I think that leads us into our episode 2 topic for today. That weird gray space between consciousness and sleep.
That was masterful. I mean, I'm just gonna say, I'm just, as an audience member, I'm in awe of that segue, of that talent.
Well,
you're really getting into this.
Thank you for calling me talent.
Absolutely. Of course you're talent.
You're talent, too.
That's why this podcast sounds so bad, because it is run entirely by two people who are...
just trash.
Trash talent.
Trash talent. Hey, there we go. There you go. Hashtag trash talent.
No tech. Absolutely. Trash talent. 100% trash talent. 0% technical ability.
I think we just have our first merch idea.
Yeah, we just need people to buy the merch, though.
T-shirts.
Other than you and me.
Hey, I would wear it. Just a black shirt with hashtag trash talent.
Absolutely. I would record it in every day.
Every single day.
Let us know if you want our trash talent garbage.
So, yes, definitely. So let us know if you would be interested in that.
Yes. Anyway, we have segued completely away from the segue.
We really have.
I'm sorry.
But again,
I just really cut in there.
So, do you tell me about your personal experiences with any sort of sleep disorders? Have you ever, is that a thing for you or what?
So I have a history of really, I think that it kind of, this topic kind of stemmed from my personal history with sleepwalking. I have a history of ridiculous things that happen to me when I go to sleep. I haven't done it in a really long time, knock on wood. But as a kid, I always used to get up in the middle of the night and try to leave the house while I was asleep. And I would get up and I would get dressed and I would walk. When I was a kid, I lived in a house that was like a ranch style house, and my room was the room at the far end of the hallway. And my house was like this big long hallway that just led to the front door. And so I would get up in the night, get dressed, come out of my room, walk straight down the hallway and towards the front door. And my mom was usually in the living room hanging out or watching TV or whatever, and she'd be like, Katie, go back to bed. And she said I would just turn around and go straight back to bed, and I was like non-aggressive, totally non-violent, but apparently I had somewhere that I needed to be. Mom?
I kind of imagine Lady Gaga singing Joanne, girl, where do you think you're going?
Absolutely. It's definitely that type of situation, yeah. So, I don't know. We never found out, where I was headed, but I was, 6 years old, and I had places to be, man.
That's a scary, thought. Just not knowing where you're, not being conscious enough, but your body's still moving.
Right,
so,
right. Your body is clearly directed by something to go somewhere. I did it once at a hotel.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. So we actually got there, and they told us that one of the floors was under like renovation or whatever. I think it was like the 11th floor or something. And so they told us that we weren't to go on that floor because it wasn't safe. So later that evening, we go to bed. My mom was actually with me on this trip. I think I was like 13. It was like a beta club convention thing because I was a nerd. Still am. So
Go Beta.
yes, beta. Academia sure did pay off in the end, you know? Anyway, so we were on this beta club trip, and my mom went with me, and all of a sudden in the middle of the night, I just got up and left the room. I remember the door had like 2 locks on it. It had like the regular knob lock, and then it had like a chain thing. Undid both those locks, opened the door, went out into the hallway, got in the elevator, rode the elevator all the way down to the lobby, walked all the way across the lobby, and this is like a massive like Marriott type convention center sort of situation.
Yeah.
I walk all the way across this grandiose lobby in my underwear, basically. I go up to the guy at the front desk. Which, let's be real,
is like completely not anything unusual.
Yeah, that's fair. I am usually in my underwear. But...
Not now. She's not.
I'm not. Well, sort of. I'm in PJ pants.
Yeah,
I probably shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a classy day today.
No.
But anyway... So I go all the way across the lobby, and I go up to the guy who's working the front desk, and I ask him for a pen and paper. I'm still completely 100% asleep at this point in time. He hands me the pen and paper, and at that moment, I wake up in the middle of the lobby in my underwear with a very confused front desk concierge man staring at me somewhat concerned. And I'm like, what happened? Like... And it was just like very, very, like, what do you say?
You wake up and then you're just like looking at him and, who are you?
What do you say? So I think I was just like, thanks, man. And I just like turned around and went back upstairs. Meanwhile, my mom is like freaking out because she heard the chain thing when I undid it. So I get up to the floor that my room was actually on, and she's like panicked in the hallway because she was scared that, earlier in the day when they mentioned that the 11th floor was being worked on and there was construction, she was concerned that that would have been in my head and that maybe I would go to the 11th floor. So that was a concern of hers. She was really scared.
Well, little did you know that the concierge man was actually contemplating murder. And
maybe.
And you were almost his first victim.
I don't know. I appreciate that he did. Like, I can't imagine how I seemed because I was quite asleep. But I appreciate that he actually did give me pen and paper, which, by the way, is on the nightstand of every hotel that you ever stay in. So I'm not really sure why I needed to go get more.
Maybe something was trying to speak.
I wish that it could have spoken onto the notepad that was right beside my head as I slept in the bed. But yeah, so I kind of have a history with sleepwalking. But do you have any weird sleep happenings?
Other than the fact that it's really hard for me to get to bed,
sleep at all.
It's hard for me to sleep at all. I tend to be kind of a night owl, so for me, the moon really just sort of activates my brain. Mm-hmm. And it's the time where I'm most active. It's the time where I'm the most creative.
A lot of creative types are like that. A lot of creative types are more active at night than during the day.
It's something about the stillness of the night that when I'm sitting there and I think, okay, everybody else is asleep. Mm-hmm. To me, I think there's a lot of energy going around when people are up and moving around, and I think that sort of sometimes messes with my sort of not just creative process but just my vibe in general.
Right. So
when everybody is asleep and that's all at rest, I just feel like my mind sort of blossoms more. So it's really hard for me to get to bed at a decent hour.
Yeah.
So if you ever see any late night postings, it's probably me.
It's probably you. Yeah. Yeah.
On our Instagram, not Katie. No,
I like my sleep. I can't function if I don't sleep.
Yeah.
It's just not good. I get really, really grumpy. It's kind of like one step down from being hangry for me.
That's
like
awful for you.
Being
it's awful for me too.
Yeah. It's just not good. Just don't get hungry. Don't get sleepy.
I think that's a whole other podcast we could do. People that killed while hangry.
I mean, I feel like it's a great topic. I have been pushed to the limit several times. Anyway, so obviously our topic today going over different sleep disorders. I'm going to start out with a segment on sleepwalking, and we're going to kind of take it through that. And then Kenny will talk a little bit later about some of the other various sleep disorders and things that are a little bit less lighthearted than sleepwalking.
I actually have sleep demons coming your way. Demons of the night coming to steal your breath while you sleep.
But first we have to talk about somnambulism.
I'm sorry, nambawhatalism?
Somnambulism. Apparently it's the sciencey name of sleepwalking.
Okay.
So sleepwalking is classified as a parasomnia. It occurs in stage 3, not stage 1 or 2, but stage 3 of non-REM sleep, according to a very smart person at the UHealth Sleep Center in the University of Miami, where the weather is much better than it is in DC today.
Yes, but I quite enjoy it.
Sleeting.
So you're not quite in your deep REM sleep.
Yes, you're not in REM sleep. You're in stage 3 of whatever. I don't really understand most of that, but
Hashtag trash talent.
Hashtag trash talent. Bringing it to you, serving it up. I did find it interesting though that I did used to sleepwalk more as a child. I will still sometimes sleepwalk as an adult, and I will have conversations a lot in my sleep, which is weird that I don't remember in the morning, and I may seem totally awake and alert. I could be doing this podcast right now 100% asleep, and you would never know.
I think that's probably a creepypasta waiting to happen.
Probably so. Somebody write that. But I used to sleepwalk much more as a child, and it's actually more common in children than it is in adults because one of the hormones that gets produced in stage 3 is the growth hormone. And somehow that is connected to sleepwalking because when you're in stage 3, much more often, I think, as a child because you're producing more of that growth hormone. So sleepwalking is more common. But as you get older, the less amount of stage 3 sleep you actually get to have. So amount of time that we spend in that space shortens as we get older because we're not producing as much growth hormone. But as an adult, you can there are things that make sleepwalking worse if you're already kind of predisposed to that. If you drink a lot, stress is also one, sleep deprivation is also one, and sleeping in unusual environments. So kind of everything we do.
Exactly.
Yeah, so all of those things can make sleepwalking worse or make it more frequent. So I kind of wanted to keep it a little bit lighthearted. I found some there's a really, really, really good article on sleepwalking on Women's Health Magazine.com, which is not a source that I ever thought I would use for this podcast.
Women's Health.
Women's Health, you know.
I found this article from Women's Health.
I mean, but
about
it was
women's health.
About women's health. Interestingly, I think that they quote some men too, which I'm all for. That's cool. Why it got to be women's health? Why can't it just be Health Magazine?
Health Magazine for everyone.
For everybody. Anyway, so there are some funny stories. Rebecca S. Says that once while she was sleepwalking, she got a piece of glass in her foot.
Ooh.
This is a great story. You're going to love this one. She got a piece of glass in her foot, pulled it out, stuck a paper towel to the bleeding wound, and went back to sleep only to find a bloody paper towel in her bed in the morning. How badass is that?
That's pretty badass.
Like the sleepwalking version of Rebecca S.
Sleepwalking Virgin.
The Sleepwalking Virgin. That's going to be the name of my first novel. I love it. Keep it in. We're not editing it out.
Nope,
this is
not
a
at all.
real podcast.
This is real.
This is real trash talent.
Very real.
Anyway, the sleepwalking version of Rebecca S. is like Bruce Willis from Die Hard. Do you remember that scene when they shoot out all the glass?
I've never seen Die Hard. I've never watched that movie.
Are you kidding me?
No, I've never watched that movie.
How am I finding out about this on the air right now? We have been friends for like 15 years.
I just
How
have never
have you
seen
never?
it.
Oh my
I've
God.
never watched it. It's never been something that I like. Don't they consider it to be like a Christmas movie or something?
We have to pause this podcast. Yes, it's my favorite Christmas movie ever. And I don't like, Christmas is not my thing. You know this.
Yeah.
You know this.
Yeah.
But it's so good. Oh my God, it's so good.
Okay, she is giving me like the death stare from hell right now.
I just can't. I don't know how we move past this. We have to watch Die Hard. We have to like live
we'll
stream
turn that
Die
into a
Hard
thing.
or
We will
something.
live stream Die Hard.
We have to do that. Make a note.
Okay.
Make a note. Tell someone to make a note. It's just you and me.
It's
no one takes notes for us.
Person, make a note. They will never know.
The cat Kenny's cat can make a note.
That is nowhere to be found.
He quit. He quit the podcast. Anyway, so this girl, I thought that was so crazy that because that hurts to like step on a piece of glass and have it like sticking out. Like, what kind of badass?
And it doesn't even affect her. Like
she's just like, whatever, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even stand when someone touches my foot, much less like you're gonna jab a piece of glass into it.
I guess. I don't know. And she said that another time she woke up as she was opening her front door to a very large man yelling outside of her apartment. And apparently he was like...
Was that me? No.
Apparently he was yelling at somebody on his phone. And when she opened the door, he was like 4 feet away. And he just kind of looked at her weirdly and walked away. Which I thought that one was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I'm glad he walked away, though. Because this girl is like a crazy badass... pulling glass shards out of her body, not concerned.
Think about it from his perspective. He's like outside minding his business on the phone, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you see this girl, and she may or may not have a piece of glass stuck to her foot, just bleeding, and she's just standing there. I know it was a separate
Or she has it like in her hand. If she just opens the door with the glass shard that's all bloody from her foot, like in her hand, staring.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's how it happened. So, it's not always as badass or cool. I mean, I guess that's not cool to like step on. You can get diseases that way, but we shouldn't glorify that. You guys, we do not support people stepping on glass.
Go and start stepping on glass.
Go get your tetanus shot. Don't eat any Tide Pods either, for that matter. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go on record. If you are dumb enough to eat a Tide Pod, go ahead. There's too many people on this earth right now.
Well, I've already had this conversation with you. I think it's interesting. Like, there's some sort of satisfaction with like popping them. Like, they're so squishy.
They are
and
squishy.
Popping them.
That's true. I don't necessarily think that Tide was trying to design like squishy, attractive. Like, I don't think it was their goal to make you want to eat it, though.
Well, they shouldn't have made it so attractive.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Anyway, we have veered so far off into left field.
We really have.
How will we ever get back? There's not a segue fast enough to get us back to this topic. So, Logan S., also from Women's Health magazine. Logan S. says that on an extremely stormy night.
Ooh.
Yes, a lightning storm. When she was 4 years old, she sleepwalked. I don't think that's the right tense. Sleptwalked? Sleepwalked?
No, she sleptwalked.
Sleep.
Girl, she walked.
She walked while asleep into the pantry and ate some cat food. And she like clarifies that it was just a little bit. I feel like
it was a lot.
I don't know. I feel like that statement makes me feel like it was more. Like if she hadn't said it was just a little bit, I would have believed that it was just a little bit. But the fact that she qualified it makes me feel like maybe she was chowing down on like half a bag of cat food.
She grabbed a handful.
I mean, apparently it was the crunchy kind, she also said.
Did it have a slight chicken flavor?
I have no
idea. A bit
idea.
of gravy.
She says as soon as she tasted it, she woke up. But that's a thing. Sleep eating. Sleep eating is totally a thing.
Damn.
I would be mad, though, because I want to taste it.
But maybe that's why, like, it's really hard to lose weight, because you just don't realize that you're waking up in the middle of the night and just eating everything.
There actually is totally a person that was like that. I didn't include her in my research for this particular episode, but there is a person who, I forget her name, but she had a weight issue because she couldn't stop herself from, like, she would eat, like, thousands of calories.
Oh my.
Yeah, a night sleep eating, and they couldn't figure out like what was going on. So she's been treated a lot actually. They've done a lot of like traditional medicine type stuff with her to try and work through it. So I should have included her in my research, but I didn't. Sorry. Sorry.
We're a very organic podcast.
Yeah, there you go. You get what you pay for. We're a free podcast.
For real. No, I was, sidebar, but you mentioned that, and I actually didn't realize that there were some people that you like pay for individual episodes of podcasts.
Yeah, that's a thing.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's not a thing for us though. Definitely.
I'm gonna charge you all to watch. I mean, to listen.
To watch.
To watch.
Yes.
To listen to me.
No, not a thing. Not a thing. So there we have sleepwalking. We have sleep glass shard removal. We have sleep eating. And this story was awesome. The story of James Currens. He was a sleepwalker, but so you know how I talked about how most sleepwalkers are children?
Yeah.
And sleepwalking occurs most often in children? This is the opposite end of the spectrum. James Currens was 77 years old in 1998 when he got up, sleepwalked out of his house with his cane in hand, and right into a nearby pond.
Ooh.
Yes. He woke up chest deep in the water but was unable to get out as he had become stuck in the mud. And that alone would be terrifying for a 77-year-old man to be stuck in the mud in the middle of a pond. However, apparently James Currens lived down south because the pond was full of alligators.
That is frightening. I can't think of anything worse in this situation.
Yes. You go to bed, you go to bed, nice and warm and snuggly in your bed. You wake up, stuck in the mud in the middle of a pond, surrounded by alligators.
See, that in and of itself gives me anxiety. Anytime I see, or watching videos or movies and you see rivers or anything that you can't see the bottom
right.
of, and especially in areas where there's, like heavy alligator populations.
The swamp lands.
The swamp. You get your swamp bears.
You get your swamp bear, the alligators.
He came up from the swamp.
Them gators.
He came up from the swamp. He's a swamp bear.
The deadly swamp bear.
No, but seriously, that is terrifying to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially because they camouflage themselves so well. Is that a floating piece of
log?
Wood?
An innocent log or a deadly alligator?
Coming to fucking kill me. No, that's awful.
But
Did he make it out?
He was 77 years old. And yeah, he totally did. He lived. He used his cane to help keep the alligators at bay, and he was shouting for help. And one of his neighbors heard him and called the police. And then the police used their lights to scare off the alligators, and then they went out and freed him.
77-year-old badass.
Right?
He said, "Not today,
that
motherfucker."
That is crazy.
Not
that
today.
Is insane. And he only had small cuts on his body from where he fell when he was entering the pond, apparently.
Good for him.
But he was like totally fine. That's
good
crazy.
for him. That is insane. I probably would not have been as cool.
Right? That man is a badass. I had to...
So many badass people here.
Right? Are sleepwalking people badass people?
I think so.
Like, is it a thing? Are all sleepwalkers badass? Or did I just curate the stories that weren't depressing because people died? You decide. No, so there was another story like that that was also like a pretty frightening situation. This man, an unnamed man in Dulwich, England. Dulwich? I'm sorry.
Dulwich.
Dulwich?
Dulwich.
You seem really sure.
It sounds like, because I watched a video on Facebook.
Okay.
So
it's really good research.
No, there was a video on Facebook where this guy created a restaurant and made it number one on like the restaurant guides or whatever, and it wasn't even a real restaurant. It didn't exist. He just social media'd the hell out of it and made it to the top spot, but it was called the Shed at Dulwich. And so if it's the same place, it's pronounced, I think, Dulwich.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Well, all right, there you go. The more you know.
I could be wrong, but I think it's pronounced
You
Dulwich.
could be completely wrong. So Dulwich, England is where we are. This guy walking home at 2 a.m. Imagine you are this guy, right? It's 2 a.m. You've had a couple drinks at the pub. You're headed home for the evening. And you somehow notice there's a construction site. And you're kind of, I guess, admiring the construction site.
That's some good construction.
And on the very tip top of an inactive crane, there is a girl curled up, sleeping.
Are you serious?
Yes, on the top of a crane.
What the fuck?
Can you imagine how Now, if this guy, I have no idea what he was doing walking home at 2 a.m., but like...
He was having a good time at the
right,
bar.
You've had a couple drinks. You're chill, right? You're headed home. You look up at a crane and there's a girl just crouched sleeping on the crane. Like, would you not freak out?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even know what to do in that situation.
This guy knew exactly what to do. He called emergency services.
Well, obviously.
And
I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. Yeah.
Fucking call 911.
Yes. Well, I don't think it's 911 in Britain. I think it's like 011. That's not right.
Call
it's not right.
emergency services.
I don't know. People in England, look up what your emergency number is, or just know it. Just know it. Use your iPhone and just hit emergency. If you don't have an iPhone, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what to do.
I hope Android has you covered. I'm sure they do. They seem like they're good. But anyway, this guy calls emergency services, and a fireman climbs up the crane. And that's when they realized that she was actually asleep because they weren't sure what she was doing at the top of the crane.
Hey, girl.
So they go up and they realize she's asleep, which of course makes it even worse because if they wake her up and she freaks out, like she's on a crane, like there's not that much room to move and freak out and be scared and stuff. So what they ended up doing, he searched her while she was asleep and he found her phone. And then he called her parents. And when he got in touch with her parents, they explained that she was 15 years old and she had a history of sleepwalking. And they told her to just set the phone on her or near her. And then the parents called the phone back. And when it rang, it woke her up. And they were able to take her down safely. She climbed 130 feet, which is 39.6 meters up the crane. And 40 feet, which is 12 meters, across the crane.
What the fuck?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, how... There's got to be something going on, like, where there's some part of the brain that is obviously still alert, because if she's walking across that crane, she obviously, like, knew not to step off.
Right. I mean, clearly, like, her motor cortex is fine. But that's crazy. I mean, I'm glad that it worked out.
But how would you, like, be the rescue guy and you're like, crap. Like,
Right.
if I try and wake
Right.
her up, she's going to flip out. Because I'm going to tell you what, like, knowing you,
Yeah.
if it had been
Yeah.
you
No
and someone
way.
would wake you
It
up,
wouldn't have worked out.
your reflexes,
Yes.
you would just have swung around,
Yeah.
whopped him upside the head. He would have fallen,
Yeah.
and then you would have fell.
Right. No, I feel like it would be better to get one of those trampolines from the cartoons.
Yeah,
And
I
just
would've
kind of put it under
maybe
the crane.
situated a net
Just kind of
first somehow.
catch me. And then I'll bounce in the air like the cartoons used to. And they'll play that music. That
Situated in a net,
is that
maybe.
copyrighted? I'm sure it's not.
No, I don't think so.
Here's hoping.
God. Lots
Yeah.
of crazy stuff going on when we sleep, man.
Yes, it is very odd. So those are my lighthearted sleepwalking stories, but they're, we like to keep things steamy on the podcast for you. That probably sounded awful.
That was steam.
He just blew directly into the mic.
Well, whatever.
I'm glad you're so concerned. So we like to keep things steamy. So, of course, we have to talk about a topic which I've, of course, been meaning to talk to you about for a long time.
And what is that?
It's called sexsomnia.
Sexsomnia.
Sexsomnia. So it's actually a real thing. They're also from my beautiful Women's Health magazine article that is very, very scholarly research. There was an interview, and this is the one that I'm not sure if this is a woman or a man because the name is Bobby, and it could go either way.
Okay.
But Bobby is quoted as saying, "I have sexsomnia." A few times she has woken up in the middle of the night going down on her partner.
Oh.
Yeah. She says she first found out that she did this senior year of college when her boyfriend slept over, and he texted her later the next day and apologized for not wanting to have sex in the middle of the night. And she was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so apparently sometimes she doesn't remember at all. Other times she becomes lucid only after she's like going for the gold, so to say.
After the big top.
I don't think it's after the big top, but maybe like right before. I don't know. She said that it freaked her current boyfriend out at first, but he's since embraced it.
That translates to is, okay, what's going on?
Right.
Okay, this is weird.
I mean,
okay. Just
it's not the
go
worst.
with it.
It's not the worst. No, apparently he was just worried, being a good guy, being the way you should be about consent and wanting to make sure that everything's cool, know?
True.
But she said that he was just worried about what potentially could have happened, and the fact that she wasn't entirely conscious. But she says that she's never attempted penetrative sex of any kind, so he's just more comfortable as a result of knowing that and trusting her and what have you. But she says she's also woken up to herself vigorously masturbating in the middle of the night. And she says it only happens when she sleeps in either briefs or boxer briefs. Oh, so I guess this is a man. Maybe? I'm not sure. We're going to keep it gender ambiguous. No idea. But apparently, whoever this beautiful being is, briefs or boxer briefs, and if there aren't any underwear, like if the person doesn't sleep in underwear, it doesn't really happen when they're naked. It's only if they're wearing some sort of clothing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's odd.
They say sleeping naked is supposed to help with more sex.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's interesting that it's sort of working in some sort of like weird opposite way. I just don't understand what... Like, that is so... And this person did not,
didn't
remember
realize. I guess
any
it's
of
kind
this?
of like if you imagine like a wet dream sort of situation where, because they say that like people naturally have wet dreams, both men and women, naturally have sexual stimulation and stuff going on as they sleep throughout the night anyway. we just usually don't remember it. So I guess it's in that person's brain, it like starts off as that maybe, and then kind of moves into actual sex.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But that's a weird line with, like, obviously this person is in a relationship with somebody, so, and this other person on the receiving end,
right,
is like,
yeah, like it's kind of like you don't know what to do.
Between like consent,
yeah,
and whether it be a man, trying to go down on on his girlfriend or vice versa, or whatever. It's a weird line between consent and it's
right, because I'm sure it's weird for the person who has the sexsomnia too, because you don't want to like. I'm sure that it was like this person seemed like they really worked hard to try to find a partner that was okay with it. But then as the partner, you don't want to like seem like you don't care about consent. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
So but regardless, it's a lot easier to deal with sexsomnia when you're in a relationship as opposed to when you are not in a relationship.
Ooh.
So there's the case of, I don't know if it's Jan or Jan. I'm going to say Jan. Ludecki from Toronto. In 2005, Jan was at a party, and after a heavy night of drinking, he fell asleep on the sofa. And a few hours later, he was woken up by another party goer who he didn't know, who was shouting and pushing him. And he says he only woke up when he was pushed to the floor. Apparently, Ludecki, who was 33 years old at the time, was accused of raping a woman.
Ooh.
But he says he was asleep and he didn't realize that he had had sex until he went to the bathroom after he woke up and found that he was wearing a condom. So initially, I wish you could see the look of skepticism that I'm getting from Kenny right now.
So he was charged with
rape, yes.
In this instance?
Yes.
And his defense was that he had sexsomnia?
Yes. So the courts were initially just as skeptical as you are about this defense, even after they heard testimony from a doctor who explained sexsomnia and explained that it was a legitimate disorder. But the deciding factor in the case was that not just one, but 4 of his ex-girlfriends testified that they had experienced his sexsomnia firsthand when they were dating. So it does seem like he had kind of a history of this type of sleep disorder.
Yeah.
Throughout his relationships, and he was found not guilty.
Damn.
Yeah. It's terrible.
That's terrible.
It's terrible for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Because this poor girl, or woman, I shouldn't say girl. I mean, I'm just, hey girl. But this poor woman who has now been traumatized, I mean, it doesn't make it any less horrifying for her. But at the same time, if he's not conscious,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's the thing. There was the other famous case that you can't really talk about sexsomnia without talking about this particular case. There was a middle-aged woman in Australia, and her name hasn't been released for confidentiality reasons, but she had an issue with, she had serious issues with sleepwalking. And apparently neither she nor her partner had any idea that she even suffered from sleepwalking initially. But apparently she would get up, sleepwalk out of her house, and engage in sex with total strangers.
Ugh.
Yes. And it happened for months before they realized what was going on. The couple had no idea. They would just find condoms around the house.
What?
Apparently that's the thing. Yeah, they would just find condoms around the house and they didn't know what was going on. But the reality came out when her partner woke up one night and realized that she wasn't there and he was searching for her. He found her having sex with a stranger completely asleep.
But, so are there, are their eyes open? Are they walking around, eyes shut doing things? I don't, how does that work?
I think it can be either way. I know for me, when I used to sleepwalk, my eyes would be open. And when I have conversations in my sleep, my eyes are open.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, they're not
the lights are on.
Yes, but nobody's home.
Nobody's there.
No. Nope.
What are you think about it. What are you capable of in that state of mind?
Right.
Like, not just with sex, not just, with moving around, but like if you... there's no telling what you could do.
Right, because it's a space where there's no inhibitions. That's all just removed. Yeah, it's dicey.
Yeah. So, I can tell you, I've never dealt with, like, sleep paralysis, or, no, excuse me, sleepwalking, or anything like that I know of, thankfully, unless I'm getting up in the middle of the night, like, chopping down on some food.
Right, sleep eating.
But
what if you get up in the middle of the night and here's what happens. We go to sleep in our separate homes, right? We wake up in the middle of the night, sleepwalk out of our house, meet at a restaurant, a 24-hour diner, eat pancakes, like a pancake French toast breakfast sort of situation all night, and then go back to our homes, get back in bed, and wake up. And we just taste a ghostly taste of maple syrup.
What if that's what happens? What if that's what happens with everyone that sleepwalks? Like the sleepwalk diner.
There's yes.
So like your bodies are out moving around, but mentally your minds go to the diner, and the diner's just filled with everybody else that's sleepwalking.
Maybe that sounds like a comic book strip.
But it's that's the idea of the sleep disorders and not being in control.
Your problem's kind of the opposite of that.
Well,
moving around without consciousness.
Yeah. So my issue, and it's probably one of like top 5 the most terrifying experiences in my life. And I can say that with, like, having experienced, a significant amount of terrifying things.
Terrifying things are kind of a pastime for you, like baseball.
But it's the exact opposite. I've only ever experienced it one time, and I never want to experience it again. Going into the realm of sleep paralysis is literally a nightmare come true. It is. I can't even I really honestly can't even describe the state of fear that I was in. I had went to bed, and it wasn't even nothing unusual was going on in my life. Yeah. This was completely random.
I remember this because you called me right after this happened.
I texted. I think I called or texted you.
You sounded so scared. No, you called me because I remember the way you sounded. You were like terrified.
It was. Nothing unusual happened, and it's only ever happened once. And nothing was going on in my life crazy. There wasn't no significant stress. Didn't eat any bad cheese beforehand.
Is there such a thing as bad cheese? Let's be honest.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so I remember I'd gone to bed, and all of a sudden, I wake up. And I am frozen. I cannot move. I cannot do anything. And and what was weird was that I wasn't even sleeping in my normal way.
What do you mean?
Like, I wasn't, one leg hocked up, like one leg, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I wasn't.
Like on your side?
No, like I was laying flat on my back.
Mm-hmm.
And I never
sleep that way.
And I don't.
I literally lay flat on my back in the bed, and I cross my hands over my chest. I literally sleep
like a vampire.
Like a vampire in a coffin. And it's so weird.
I don't. I am very askew. So that was completely out of character for me to be so rigid and like stiff. And I was freaking out because it was like I couldn't. The only thing that I could move was my eyes, and I could like look around the room, and I started hearing this, what sounded like the screams from hell. Like I was sitting. I was
so our
laying there.
downstairs neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, downstairs.
Yes. Yeah.
But
They're
it
at the
was
Super Bowl party now.
Yeah, it was screeching, just the most god awful noises that you could ever think. And I see a shadow coming from the left, and I can't see what it is, but I see the shadow, and I feel its presence. And I feel it, like, kneel on the bed beside of me. Some people, when they experience sleep paralysis, they experience a sensation of pressure on the chest, like something is on top of them. Like, as I'll talk about a little bit later, they call it, riding the witch or whatever. But this was different. It wasn't on top of me. It was beside of me. And I could feel the weight of the bed. Like, I could feel the weight of the person pushed down on the bed, and I could feel them right here.
Oh my gosh.
Right here,
by your face.
On my face. And I could almost sort of sense the heat, like when someone's right beside you and you sense the heat.
Yeah.
I could sense it. And the sounds from this, what I could only describe as hell, kept getting louder and louder and louder. And I would try and move, and I was trying to lift my body up, and I couldn't. I couldn't move, and I would try again. And every time that I tried to move, the sounds got louder. So it was like the more I struggled, the closer to hell I got. And it finally got to a point where this being, or this figure that was right by my ear, whispered, "What you're hearing is hell, and that's what you'll see." And at that point, I like mustered every bit of energy in my body, and I said, "Hell to the no." And I forced myself out of it, and I pulled through, and I lifted myself up and lifted myself straight up out of the bed. And when I got up, my heart was racing. I had sweat poured all over me, and I looked around, and I was shaking so hard. I had never experienced that in my life.
That's crazy.
It was god awful, and how do you explain that? And what is so weird is that after this situation, obviously I started researching a little bit on sleep paralysis. And there are people that have it frequently. Sorry, that is my phone.
It's a sound effect.
It's a sound effect. I'm going to kill whoever. Oh, that's Katie.
Oh, darn. Podcast notes. It's fine.
Katie is sabotaging me.
You will thank me when you see the episode 2 promo image. Just saying.
So it's a lot of people experience similar things.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to juxtapose these two topics with the sleepwalking and the sleep paralysis, because sleepwalking in a lot of ways is your body is awake, but your brain's not awake. And sleep paralysis, I've heard described, your brain is awake, but your body is still sleeping.
Yeah,
so your brain is sending out messages to your muscles, and your muscles aren't receiving them.
Yeah, and
so you feel literally paralyzed.
Yeah, and what it is once you reach that state of sleep, your brain sends a chemical to your body that actually paralyzes your body while you're asleep.
Right, so you don't hurt yourself.
It prevents you from hurting yourself while you're asleep. So there's something that happens in that weird state of being where chemically your body is not awake, but you are.
Right.
And I was fully awake. This wasn't an instance of like, you know, some weird nightmare,
like a really
where,
vivid
like,
dream,
like a lucid dream or anything like that. Like there was no skip, there wasn't a beat in consciousness. From the moment I woke up and was hearing these sounds and feeling this shadow thing breathing down my neck, there was never a jump in consciousness.
That's interesting, though, because I imagine that
it just went away.
Because a lot of people who suffer from sleep paralysis, they all describe some sort of malevolent entity that's present. And I wonder if that's the brain's way of explaining why you feel paralyzed. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a reason that you can't move, and so your brain creates this entity who is shown as keeping you paralyzed or whatever.
Well, some people experience it differently. Like I said, I felt it was like a shadow.
You felt it more than seeing it.
And I felt it more than I saw it. But some people actually do see things. There's a really good documentary on, I believe it should still be on Netflix, called The Nightmare, that I do recommend. And it sort of goes over some experiences that people have had. And a lot of people talk about seeing shadow men with like glowing red eyes at the foot of the bed. But a lot of it has to deal with shadows, but some take the form of men. Like there was one instance where a lady described it as men in hats with the glowing red eyes. So it's really interesting, but actually this sort of happens, all across the world. So we have different, this comes up all the time, especially there are examples in art of sleep demons, creatures, witches. So
witches get blamed for everything.
They really
Why do we always have to take the rap? Why do we always have to take it?
So going into that, I actually found...
is it sleep demon time?
It is sleep demon time.
Yes, sleep demons. We promised you sleep demons.
Welcome to the world of sleep demons.
If you hung in here with us, now you get to sleep demons.
Come join us as we take a trip around the world.
To investigate the demons
of sleep.
Oh my God, they hate us. They hate us so much.
So I'm going to talk about a couple of these, but I want you to tell me which one you think is the most terrifying.
Okay.
Which one would absolutely cause you to wet yourself in bed?
Okay, to wet myself.
Yes.
Okay.
To like really shake you. I want to know which one of these makes you shook.
Well, it sounds like you want to know which one of these makes me wet.
Well, actually, there is one, and I'll get to him.
Oh, okay.
There's one I'll get to him.
All right.
So the first one we have is called and let me preface this first by saying, excuse me if I don't pronounce some of these words correctly. I did research a little bit, and I'm trying to pronounce them in the best way that I can. So do not hate me, please. So this first one is called the Batibot.
The Batibot.
Yes, or Batibot, or however you want to pronounce it. But
right.
The native Filipino language, Tagalog, has a word for supernatural sleep death. Bangangut.
Bangangut. Oh, God. We are slaughtering this.
I'm so sorry. Fuck. Which literally translates as to rise and moan during sleep. Filipino folklore says tree-dwelling malevolent Batibot spirits are its cause. The creatures, which look like ugly, obese women, infest houses when their trees are used as construction materials. The enormous hags wait until the homeowners are asleep and then sit on victims' chests and face to push their life force out.
Oh, man. What a way to go, man.
Yeah. So now...
Interesting. Don't chop down trees.
Yeah, don't...
To make homes.
Just
live in the trees.
Leave the body bot her home.
Just build a tree house.
I think that still
coexist with
living.
The body bot. No, it's fine. Bring her a casserole when you move in. It should be fine. She likes casserole.
She's late. Well, yeah.
There you go. Who doesn't like casserole?
Now we're going to move on to the dacho.
Dacho. That one kind of sounds sexy. Dacho.
So the dacho is a cuddly bag of terror.
Aww.
And he actually is the great granddaddy of Freddy Krueger.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. I like this one. A cuddly bag of terror.
Yes.
I like it.
The dacho is part of the folklore of the Maang, an Asian tribal people whose sleep deaths upon arriving in America inspired Freddy Krueger.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like the body bot, the dacho kills through smothering sleeping victims. Survivors of encounters with the dacho compared it to a furry American stuffed animal, only with prominent claws and teeth.
Oh, he sounds adorable.
He sounds
like
god-awful.
I want one as a pet.
Yeah.
They're cute.
Yeah.
He sounds so cute. I like that one.
So now we're going to take a trip to Japan.
Okay.
Made up of the leftover pieces from the creation of the world, Japanese dream creature Baku is a piecemeal beast with a bear's body, an elephant's trunk, and an ox's tail.
There's a lot of identity crisis happening there.
It feeds on dreams, and Japanese children will call to it upon waking from a nightmare. The nightmare removal can come at a price. A hungry Baku sometimes eats the hopes and motivation of the dreamer along with the dream. Interesting.
That one is interesting. That one's cool because it's kind of like a chaotic neutral sort of situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily an evil creature, but it's kind of existing in the gray space in between.
Exactly.
That's kind of
It's
cool.
going to take something. It's got a price.
Right.
And, you want me to help you, so now I'm
Right.
going to take something.
Very interesting.
So, another creature that we have is the Hungarian gender-shifting bloodsucker, which starts from a tiny egg and grows to be a bizarre lover tormentor. Similar to its Asian dream cousins, it exerts pressure on victims, but its embrace is associated with sex and lust, just as much as terror.
Okay.
It latches onto its victims, sucking blood and strength.
He sounds like some of my ex-boyfriends.
The Hungarian
Really similar.
word for nightmare, which I am not going to pronounce because that is really hard. But that Hungarian word, this demon gets its name from that. It's called the Liderzt. Sometimes seeks to destroy its hosts. It sometimes becomes fond of its victims and tries to enrich them with hoarded gold.
Oh, that doesn't sound like a bad deal.
It can be warded off through trickery. Convince it to attempt an impossible task, and they will be at it forever.
Oh.
So if it becomes too much, you have to trick it to do something that is impossible, and then it'll go away because that's what it'll try to do, as long as it's impossible. Interesting.
That is interesting.
So now we have the Mara. The word from which nightmare is derived was an Anglo-Saxon and Old Norse word for a demon that planted itself on sleepers' chests, causing unpleasant dreams and sometimes death. Usually female, of course.
Of course. That's what we do. The whole female population. We just run around
Cause death.
sitting on people's chests, killing them.
Exactly.
You know, it's part of our daily to-do list. It's the female agenda.
Uh-huh. The Mara is associated with the incubus and succubus, demons who have sex with women and men while they sleep.
Yes.
You're familiar with that, aren't you?
I was a succubus. Yes, I was a succubus in a former life of mine.
For Halloween, we want to clarify.
Yeah. You know, I mean, whatever.
So, now we're going to move on to Germany.
Okay.
This German nightmare creature is related to the Mara, but is usually male. It's called the Alp.
The Alp.
The name is a variation on elf from the so-called Old High German that predated the current language. While its preferred tipple is breast milk, the Alp will suck blood from nipples on men and children. They can be defeated through such rituals as pointing shoes towards the bed and hiding old pieces of metal in the straw where you sleep.
That's so random. What
It
a
sucks
weird
the blood
way.
from your tit.
But no, what a weird way to like ward that off. Pointing shoes towards the bed. Like I wonder where that comes from. That's
I
so
don't know.
strange.
I don't know.
Huh.
So, here's one that we probably all know. That's the hag.
Ah, yes.
The hag.
Yes.
If someone from Louisiana tells you they spent the night witch riding, they had a bad night.
I mean, did they though?
Did they?
Maybe we can redefine that word. Maybe we can reclaim that word.
The word witch riding.
The witch community. We can just kind of...
The night hag, a hideous old woman who spreads nightmares across the world, visited them. She's traveled to Britain, Newfoundland, and the South Pacific, riding sleepers' chests and crushing out their breath. Associated with sleep paralysis, the hag is followed by bad smells and strange shadows.
I mean, I'm just saying, it doesn't sound like that bad of a day job. You get to travel, Britain, Japan.
True.
You
get to
know,
go around the world and just sleep on and just ride people. Think about it.
I would be selective, but
you're supernatural though, so I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
You're just having fun with it. So, like, whatever.
I mean, I'm just saying, you know.
So,
I would maybe put an application in.
From Louisiana, we move to Turkey. In Turkey, unwanted paranormal nighttime visits are called karabasan. A demonic jinn enters a victim's room and holds them still before strangling them. They will retreat upon hearing prayers to Allah or readings from the Quran. If a jinn visits, make a note if the jinn wears a hat. If you are clever and brave enough to steal the headwear, the jinn, also known as a genie, will be your slave.
Yes. This was on Supernatural. I feel like Supernatural, the jinn, was on an episode of that show, or it could have also been Charmed. Do not judge me for my TV choices. I own the box sets for both those series, every single season, but it definitely was on one of those. Maybe actually both of those.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard of this one. I know you've spent some time in Russia.
Yes.
The Nokhnitsa.
No. What's her deal?
So if you see a knife in a cradle, a mother is trying to keep the Nokhnitsa from visiting her child in the night.
Or is just making some really questionable parenting choices. I feel like maybe not putting a knife in the infant's cradle is best.
I would do it in case someone ever had to, try to steal my baby. Like, I've got
what
a knife there.
What is the baby going to do? The baby's just going to pick the knife up and, like, just be a G?
I've got a knife there. So I can, like, whoosh,
under the baby?
Yeah.
I don't feel like...
I'm going to keep a knife by my child.
I don't feel like you should release this recording of that.
So she's made from the shadows, speaks in a screech, and smells like the forest in which she lives.
I mean, I'm kind of about this person.
A Russian and Slavic variation of the sleep hag, the nightmare monster will sit on victims' chests, but has also been known to spread out on a sleeper's back and tightly grip the chest.
Oh.
I think you do that, don't you?
I feel like
that.
I might. This is the Noknitsa.
Yeah.
I feel like I might be one. Where is there a test to take for that?
Maybe there's one on BuzzFeed.
I feel like, yes, I need to take the BuzzFeed quiz.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's me.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have the Domovoi. Latvian folk stories tell of a ghost of hanged or of a hanged or drowned person that kills with a night hag-like pressure, death, and can be defeated if a sleeper is able to move a toe on their left foot.
Oh, so it's kind of like a
Breaking.
Kill Bill situation.
Yeah, or like maybe
Wiggle your
breaking,
toes.
Maybe
Wiggle
you're like
your
breaking that paralyzation spell.
Yeah.
Like you're like,
well, they say that, like, actually, if you are dealing with a sleep paralysis situation, if you focus on moving your extremities, your fingers and your toes, more so than your legs and your arms,
Yeah.
if you can move your extremities, that's what breaks it first.
This one appears to be a little more, I guess, benevolent is the word.
Mm-hmm.
He's a house spirit that watches over occupants as they sleep, occasionally giving families the odd pinch.
Okay. So kind of like an Edward Cullen type,
Maybe.
like sitting in the corner watching you
Yeah.
sleep.
Usually harmless, it will leave painful bruises if it wants you out of the house.
Oh.
A painful bruise. So then our last guy here.
You guys. I wish you could see this actually, we'll try to post photos of these sleep demons for you guys so that you can kind of reference them as we go through. I wish you could see this photo.
Yeah.
What is this?
All right, so this guy is called Trauco. According to the legends of the Chilean island Chiloé, women, young and old, find this sporty little gentleman absolutely irresistible.
I wish that you could see the face that I am looking at. Irresistible is not the word that comes to mind.
So
he's got like a straw hat on, and he kind of looks like a grandpa, but he looks like he might
he's
also
very angry.
He might also be doing blackface. It's kind of like actually, that's kind of what I imagine Rumpelstiltskin would look like.
Kind of. He's an interesting guy. He's got his little cane here. But,
I just wish you could see this.
Whether asleep or awake, no woman can fend off his advances.
Wow.
Despite his charms, Trauco's wife is the notoriously ugly.
Who would have imagined?
Have we noticed a theme? All of the women are horrible, hideous, ugly creatures who kill you and steal the breath out of you.
It's almost like the world hates women. It's almost like that.
So she's notoriously ugly and cruel. Her name is Fiora, I'm guessing. Mm-hmm. When a woman becomes pregnant on Chiloé under unexplained circumstances, Trauco is the default father, no doubt to the annoyance of Fiora. Many face her wrath. So, in reality, if a woman becomes pregnant, and there's no father figure, it's just, okay, this child is the son of Trauco.
Huh.
Because he is so irresistible. And I actually read a little bit on it. Because
is it hot in here? I'm just saying.
But
just
they
growing on
actually,
me.
don't... You know how some cultures, essentially slut shame women for, having kids out of wedlock?
Right.
Apparently, and this is just from what I've researched, if that happens, then, it says, okay, Trauco's the father, so there's not, apparently, I could be wrong, but apparently there's not as much of a stigma around it, because it's okay, you're the child of Trauco.
Yeah, it's kind of like a communal myth
because they don't blame the women because he's so irresistible.
Just truly. I mean...
Absolutely irresistible. So...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So which one of these do you think, would you not want to wake up? and find.
Oh, man. Which one would I not want to find?
I mean, for me, it would have to be the body bot. Like, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that way. I just feel like there's a lot of smells that are associated with that. I feel like a lot of damp, moldy body smells.
Right, that's why
there's
I wouldn't want to do. That's why
that one's not cool. Also, the Alp one, the one that is with the
nipples.
Yeah, the nipple blood sucking
That's
sort
a
of
little
situation.
strange.
That's not cool. I don't really want that for myself or my
Nope.
nipples.
Not at all.
None of that.
So
That's interesting, though. It's kind of cool how, since, obviously these things stem from sleep paralysis, from, the fact that humans all over the world deal with this issue. And so it's kind of cool how different cultures make up different, I guess, mythologies around sleep paralysis.
And actually, that last one sort of kind of ties into your topic of sexsomnia.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's like, okay, she was obviously impregnated by a sleep demon, so that was like something that happened. So
it's kind of cool how the different monsters. I wonder what I wish we had the time to delve into it more, to kind of research what they reveal about the cultures that created them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why does one culture have the djinn and then one culture has the Alp?
Or like why is like pointing your shoes in a certain direction?
Right, like why would that kind of ward it off? But, maybe we can circle back around to it at some point. But that was really cool.
Yeah. It was really interesting to learn about all of those different these different things from around the world. And again, like I said, I tried my best. I did do a little research on how to pronounce some of the words, so I do apologize if I completely just fucked something up.
I am certain that we did, and I did zero research on how to pronounce my names, and I am unafraid. So
I did do a little bit of research, so
bring me your emails, world.
But yeah, so that's our topic today on sleep demons, sleep paralysis. I would really, like to know if any of you guys have experienced
yes.
things.
Tell us your creepy sleepwalking, sexsomnia, sleep paralysis, or if you know of any cool sleep monsters that we missed, shoot us an email or leave us a comment.
Totally. Yeah, shoot us an email at the Haunted Heart Podcast.
Nailed it. Haunted Heart Podcast at gmail.com. Haunted Heart Podcast at gmail.com. We're also on Instagram at the Haunted Heart Podcast. We're on Facebook at, I think you just search the Haunted Heart Podcast. And we're also on Twitter.
But not really.
As just the Haunted Heart. Neither one of us tweet, so we're going to try for you. But mostly Instagram, Facebook, and you can always send us an email.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes.
It's been fun tonight getting to talk about all of this. So
absolutely. So until next time, stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Ooh.